Hey guys, Don Durrett, Gold Stock Data, here for part two of Developer 10 baggers. Um, we're going to do 10 baggers plus a few um, that are close to 10 baggers, potential 10 baggers, let's put it that way. Okay, so I tried to fit them all in part one, but we ran out of time. I hit the 1 hour mark and decided it was time to stop and roll it into part two. And so you guys are the diehards. You guys are the ones sticking around for part two. So Horizon Gold, 1300. This one's interesting. Now, I like for development stories, I prefer to only do 10 baggers or better. And the reason why is because if you start with a five bagger, you don't have much room for error. If you start with a seven bagger, you don't have much room for error, and you need room for error because you want at least a five bagger in development stock. Um, because you're taking on a lot of risk. If you can find five baggers, usually with producers, and so I ideally I want to start it at 10 bagger. I want it to print as a 10 bagger when I start, and so these guys fit in there. So what I'm looking for, and so some of these companies you make your money on the second mine. So if you can get if it prints as a 10 bagger, then you get a 5/8 bagger, and then you make money, you make more money on the second mine. So Horizon Gold. This one is in Australia. It's not super juicy, but it's definitely interesting because I think did I just do the wrong one? I think so. Let me go back and look. Nope, I got the right one. There's also Horizon Minerals in Australia. So not super great rating, 2.5 B minus. Um, not, but it's definitely interesting. So the Gum Creek property, it's in Australia, 150,000 acres. I believe it's in Western Australia. It didn't say here. Um, it's had so it has 37 open pits and three underground mines. So it's had a lot of gold on the property. It's currently 2 million ounces, both open pit 1.5, which is good, 7 grams per ton underground. So the grade's good. Um, they just updated the feasibility study in 24. CapEx 155 million, which is fine, to produce 84,000 ounces annually at $1,300 AISC. So it's basically a long life 80,000 ounce a year mine, and the market cap is $50 million. So that all works for me. Um, Insiders are strong, own about 50%. I like that. So, that's one of the check boxes for development, of course. So it checks all the boxes. But I I have this on my buy list. I don't own it, but I should own it soon. It's basically plus they have a lot of drill targets. So they have 18 high priority targets on an 80-kilometer strike. So there's just too much in this, too much that I like. Now the balance sheet isn't great, 1 million. They're probably going to dilute us, could dilute us pretty significantly. 2 million ounces, I think that's going to grow. I'm valuing them as 2 million ounce at 80,000 ounce producer. $1,700. That's probably too low. That probably needs to pop up $200-300, maybe even more. Um, so it's printing them as a 13 bagger is 80,000, but I think they're going to get better than that. But I think my one thing here is I think that I'm being too aggressive on their cost. So we go to Horizon Gold. Let's do an edit profile. I need to bump these guys up. Their cost, I need to take that to $700. 1,200. So cash cost of 1,200. It might be legit. I'll leave it there, but I definitely need to pop that up to 700. So we're only using three. We're expecting, the CapEx, that's for the dilution. But let's see what it changes to. I don't really want to I guess I will. So it's a Horizon Gold. Let's see what we do when we refresh this thing. Oh, I didn't need to refresh that one, but that's okay. Cash, go back, go down to Horizon Gold. I refreshed the wrong screen. Oh, it's showing 1283. Oh, that's correct. So it didn't drop that much by adding $200, that's fine. So um, on the whole, I think Horizon looks pretty good. It's not, we've been looking at stocks that have been 20 baggers, but as a 12 bagger with exploration potential, low capex, low valuation, I think Horizon Gold, it's on my buy list. I think I'm going to own it. Thesis Gold. I'm a big fan of Thesis. Thesis is a combination of the company that was called Thesis Gold and they bought Benchmark. Benchmark acquired Thesis and then took Thesis's name, which was kind of weird. Why didn't they just stay with Benchmark? For some reason, they like Thesis better. They took their name. The combined companies, this is a lot like Falco. Um, it's a long term, it's like Stellar. So Thesis, Stellar, and Falco are all very similar companies. I kind of want to own them all because we don't know who the winners are going to be. But it's a 3 to 5 year stock. It's in Canada. But if you own Stellar, you want to compare Thesis to it, you own Falco. Those three are all very similar. You could also throw Wallbridge in with that. And then Perpetua, you could throw Perpetua in there too. All four of those are very similar development stories. Perpetua is a little more advanced. Augusta, um, I don't own Augusta. I'm not a big fan of the risk reward, so I'm going to pass that one over. Um, Cerro de Pasco. Um, Cerro de Pasco for me is just so right now it's just a little bit too many unknowns. I know Eric Sprott likes it a lot. He has a big position in it, but I just, it should be a slam dunk, but the story isn't that simple. There's some unknowns here. We got permitting. We're not sure on the entire permitting issue, how long it's going to take. We don't know what the capex is. We don't know how they're going to mine it. We don't know what the recovery rates are. Um, and there's just a bit of unknowns on this project that I just don't have the warm and fuzzies on it, so I passed. I looked at it really carefully. I thought, this thing should be a slam dunk, but it is a tailings project, so it's kind of a one and done. They could buy another project by the time. It is a long life. I will give that. It's a 15-year, maybe longer project. So it's going to take it, and they're going to generate a lot of free cash flow. Look at the free cash flow, 680 million. That's per year. So it is going to generate a lot of free cash flow, that's for sure. Um, but the unknowns on it turned me off. But a lot of people are going to like that stock. A lot of people are going to own it. But for me, I decided to pass on it. I do own a lot of the developers. I like most of the stocks we're going over, I do own. The ones I talk about, I probably own. Silver One I own. They just came out, I think it was today. They came out with an upgraded resource on Candelaria. So it's Candelaria is about 75 million ounces, 78 million ounces, which is enough to produce 4 million, 5 million ounces a year. I'm hoping five. That's a $1 billion company. So Silver One, the Candelaria project, the grade is sufficient. I think at 150 somewhere there, 150, 180. Um, Open pit in Nevada. I'm hoping they start moving this thing forward. So now we got silver above $35. I always thought, Silver One, they weren't going to do much with Candelaria till we got above 35. So now we're above 35, and it's really interesting. They come out with an updated resource on Candelaria. So Silver One, definitely interesting here. I think the 10 bagger is legit. Challenger. Um, Challenger is an Australian company. There's a lot of unknowns. It's a combination of a gold project in two different countries. I own it. I do like it, but it's a little complex because it's hard to value since it is two projects, and we don't know how long it's going to take them to build both. Top pick, but not a top 25. I have it as a B. So I like it, but it's Australian, but it's two projects. So the one in Argentina is a high grade open pit. So we have 2 million ounces at 4 grams. So that's going to generate a lot of free cash flow, really good project. So open pit, 1.2 million ounces at 4 to 5 grams, and the rest is underground. So they're basically going to have a starter pit with, at 4 gram open pit is rare. So you're looking at, down in Argentina, we're looking at cash cost should be around $800 is my expectation. And so that's going to generate a lot of free cash flow. And then they have a second property. So, and then this also can grow. Julian, they have really good drill holes, 63 meters at 9 grams. So it's going to grow in size. So I like this, I like the grade. The CapEx was 135 million, which is, to produce 150,000 ounces. The ASIC's 850, so cash costs about 650, but I think that'll grow a little bit. But it's going to be a very economic mine. But that's not all they have. They also have two gold copper projects in Ecuador, and so you're kind of getting these for free. I think the Julian is probably worth 500 million, and they're currently at 133. And so you're getting these two properties now. El Gallego is 4.5 million ounces at zero point 0.5 grams, including copper. And it's low grade, but as gold prices go up, this becomes a very interesting property. So, and then they have another one, Colorado as well. Did I mention it? So, so we have these new resource updates. So we had 570 million tons. That's a lot of ore at zero point 0.5 grams. So we have 4 million ounces at Colorado and 4.7 million at Gallego. So, at what point do these properties become valuable? So I like it when you get optionality. I mean, we got this high grade open pit, high grade underground mine in Argentina that's moving forward, that's advanced, and then they have these two big low grade gold copper projects in Ecuador. Ecuador right now, it all depends on who the president is in Ecuador. But right now, it's mining friendly to a certain degree, depending on where you are in Ecuador. Lundin is in Ecuador, and I have it in my Elite Eight, so it's not a terrible place to mine. Lundin's doing absolutely fine down in Ecuador, so companies can thrive in Ecuador, but it depends where you mine. But on the whole, Challenger looks pretty interesting. I have 330 million, but that's only 100,000. This is only in Julian. This does not include their two properties in Ecuador. This thing could easily be a 20 bagger. So I think Challenger is interesting. Rox Resources. Um, so OsGold. So OsGold and Rox Resources are basically twins. And it's really interesting. They're both 11 baggers and they're both twins. So if I show you Rox Gold, I'm basically showing you OsGold. They're really, I mean, these companies are literally twins. They're very similar deposits, very similar CapExes, very similar. Um, they should merge. Um, the current advanced where they're at as far as PFSs. So I think they're both maybe top 25s as well. They're both in Australia. They're both in Western Australia. So we have the you and me property, 175,000, 2.3 million ounces and growing in size. CapEx 99 million to produce 70,000 ounces a year. This is more of a starter pit. It's going to grow from there. We got insiders at 25%. Can they hang on to it? Market cap of 100 million. So they did a PFS, 100,000 ounces a year at $1,100 ASIC, 8-year mine life, but that's irrelevant because this is a starter pit. It's gonna grow. Big property, a lot of drill targets. So And OsGold is basically the same story. 2 million ounce, advanced project, cheap, open pit, growing big property, lots of drill targets. So they're kind of twins. I like buying stocks as a pair. You buy them as a pair, one works, one doesn't. You don't know which one's going to work. Um, Good example of that, and it worked out really well for me, was Vizla and Reyna Silver. They both basically came on the scene at the same time. I bought both of them. Vizsla had their discovery. It worked out well. Reyna's done nothing, but I still own the Reyna, but I literally has done nothing. But you buy these in pairs, and sometimes they work, and sometimes one of them will work, and one of them don't. You don't know which one. Um, and so this is a good pair. And what I mean by pairs, they're very similar stocks. And they're and there's and that's kind of how I pair them up. So I don't really need to talk about OsGold. Sidney Resources is I'm actually going to interview I'm supposed to interview the CEO on July 8th. Hopefully that'll happen. We haven't completely lined it up yet, but this is a very, very high grade gold project, gold, silver, and PGEs in Idaho, but they don't have um, a resource, a legitimate resource. It's just an estimated resource. But they have a stockpile of ore and they've been doing metallurgy, and the metallurgy is pointing to very, very high grade. With not counting the PGEs, it's looking like 1.5 ounces of gold and silver equivalent, just counting, I think, the gold and silver. But if you add the PGEs, this could be 2 ounce per ton ore. And they think this vein, but we don't know for sure. There's a ton of risk here in Sydney, but I find it very intriguing because the grade is so high. But it's definitely a stock to watch. It's a good watch stock. I took a flyer on it. It's going to be interesting to see, what they say in the interview. We get some more metallurgy, it's one of those stories that's kind of too good to be true kind of thing. Newfound Gold. I'm a big fan of this. I was really excited to see Eric add to this. He added, I think, $12 million this week, and he already has a really big position, and he added 12 million, another 12. But he lowered his cost basis because it's a very cheap stock right now. Um, but I'm excited about Newfound. I just think that it got oversold. Um, I think that, they have like 12 drill areas. I think those 12 areas are 12 mines. So in the long term, I think they're going to turn into a producer. I think they're pivoting away from exploration towards development. And I think they're going to have a lot of mines. I wish they'd merge with Maritime. I think I talked about that in the last video. Uh, I think that Maritime has two mills, and they're Newfoundland, just like Newfound Gold, and I just think it's a really good fit because they're acquiring two mills, and they need two mills, and they can expand those mills, and it's kind of an easy peasy merger, I think. Um, but I'm definitely a fan of Newfound Gold at this value. It's a long term. It's absolutely a long term bet. Lumina Gold, I think I don't own it. I'm not a fan of Lumina. It's mainly a gold copper play. OsGold, again, it's a Rox Gold twin. Newcore, they're interesting. Newcore is in um, they're in West Africa. So this is the first one that's West Africa. Some people are not going to touch it, but Newcore is definitely interesting. I don't own it. I do have FOMO for it because it's growing in size. They have a lot of drill targets. Um, but I'm overweight West Africa, so that's one of the reasons why I passed on it. And it's not an early story. It's going to take them a while, but you can build a mine in West Africa in 2 years when you decide to do it. But they're still, I don't think they're 2 years out yet. I could be wrong about that. But Newcore is definitely an intriguing development story. That's why it's on my list. Silver Tiger, big fan of this one. I like their CEO, Glenn. I want to say I'm going to mispronounce his name, Jeskin. Um, He's basically a bulldog. He's going to get this thing built. All he needs is a permit right now. He's waiting for his permit, his open pit permit for. He wants to do the open pit first on the gold, but I think the underground is already permitted. I'm not sure on that, but he's working on the PFS on the underground. But it's basically gold on the surface and high grade silver underground. Um, and it's I'm very confident Silver Tiger is going to do really well at this valuation. I do expect to be a 10 bagger. Plus, I think it could grow production more than I'm expecting. That 10 bagger is based on their current resources. I think they're going to find more. Wouldn't be surprised if Glenn, after he gets both of these mines built, goes out and acquires another mine. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think he's going to be content. He's too aggressive to just build these two and just be done and just produce and be, and I just that's not his style, I don't think. Cabral, um, I like Cabral. I do own it. My issue with Cabral is it's next door to G mining, and G mining is a shark. You live next door to a shark, you're probably going to get eaten, right? So I worry about that. They're insiders. They'll fight off G mining to a certain extent, but it's tough to. We'll see how that unfolds. If they can stay, I'll be surprised if Cabral can avoid them for 2 years because G mining, it's a perfect fit for G mining. They got a mill, and G mining has a better property than they do. So Cabral has a beautiful property. I think it's at least 3 million ounces, probably 4 or 5. I got to believe G Mining is chomping at the bit to get acquired. Mayfair, I recently took a look at Mayfair, and we're waiting for a PEA. We just don't know what the PEA is. I'm not, I have a little bit of FOMO for it. I don't own it. It could work. I mean, could's not the right word. It's probably going to work, but I just don't know how big the mine's going to be. You're betting a little bit on growth, on exploration success in Mayfair. But Mayfair's in a good location, um, and they have the insiders. They can make it happen. But I just haven't. Some mines just don't grab me, and I haven't really gotten excited about Mayfair. Rio2, I do own. I am excited about Rio2. I like the CEO there. I think he wants to build a big company as well. He's got to get phase two dialed in. They haven't really done the PFS yet on phase two. I don't think they have to come up with a water solution, but I'm sure he's going to pull it off. But I do like Rio 2. I think it's going to be a successful. I do think it's going to be 5+ bagger. Troylus, I own Troylus and then I sold it because at Beaver Creek, the CEO basically said that the chances are really high that they get taken out. And it's like, oh, okay. But they haven't gotten taken out. But it's a perfect project for a major, and they don't have really strong insiders. It seems like if a major wants to take them out, they will. I still think a major will take out Troilus before they get to first pour. But it hasn't happened yet. And if that happens, you don't get your 10 bagger because once the major acquires them, all you're going to get is a one bagger, from here, maybe two, but that's about it. So that's why I sold them. Aftermath, big fan of Aftermath. Barangala is like 100 120, 130, 140 million. Actually, it's bigger than that because they're having really good drills. It's more like 150 million ounce silver. And then on top of that, uh, the manganese is battery grade manganese, which is very valuable. I mean, it's so valuable. They think it's a manganese mine. They got 150 million ounces of silver, and they think it's a manganese mine. But yeah, I think that Aftermath is looking really, really strong. The drill holes that they've been adding ounces down there is exceptional when the mine's already at that size and it's growing. Montage, I'm a fan of Montage. This is Western Africa, real strong management team. They sold their last company for over $1 billion, but this one, I don't think they're going to sell it anytime soon. We got $1 billion and look at this. That's their expected free cash flow. It's under construction right now, but it's a big mine. It's going to take them 3 years to build it, but they have a lot of drill holes on the property. So we got an exceptional management team, a really good property, under construction, fully funded. I've owned this for a long time because I like the management team. I think it was 2 years ago at Beaver Creek when I talked to them, and I really liked the team, and so I've owned it for at least 2 years, maybe longer. But yeah, I'm a fan of Montage. But I always say Western Africa is going to end up biting me. Northern Dynasty. So this is the Pebble project. Some people really like this. The problem with it is I think it's a 4 year build. I mean, this is a really big mine. It's definitely 3 plus. It isn't permitted yet, and so you're looking at, I think it's going to be 6, 7 years before this thing goes into production. I could be wrong. It could be 5, but at least 5 years before it goes into production. Now, some like Newfound Gold. I'm okay with Newfound Gold for holding it for 5, 6 years, but Northern Dynasty, I don't want to do it. Now the problem is not only do you have the long wait with Northern Dynasty, but we don't know how much dilution they're going to do, share dilution to build it. It's a huge capex. And so that could really knock into your upside depending on how they finance this thing. And so I put a real small. I mean I equate for that. I mean that's the reason it's a nine bagger expecting dilution, but they could do extra dilution is my issue. What I've included might not play out. Saturn Metals. I've taken a close look at Saturn. Some people really like it. This one guy in Australia who's a really good analyst is his favorite stock. But I took a look at Saturn and there was something about it. I just didn't get excited. So I didn't put it on my buy list and I passed. So it'll probably be a nine bagger because I didn't own it. So I don't own NAC, Northern Dynasty, and I don't own Saturn. So you watch, they'll both be nine baggers. Outcrop. Um, yeah, we'll keep going down some of these because some of you guys probably own some of these stocks. Outcrop, the key to Outcrop, in my opinion, this is based on development. This is based on them going into production. And with their high grade, and they just did an ore sorting, which worked. And so they can use ore sorting to reduce 20%. So they can basically produce 20% more. So if it was a 100-ton mill, they can basically do 120%. Because the ore sorting it works on their ore, and so I think they can bring in a modular, and mine it themselves, so they can start at like 100 tons per day, 100, get to 150, 200 tons per day, and if they become a producer, the Outcrop could do extremely well. So that's what I'm hoping they do. I know they're working on permitting now, but if it's just pure exploration, then we're not going to get an 8 bagger. We're not even close. We might get a 2 or 3 bagger. So I'm hoping they go into production. They have plenty of insiders. Another one Eric owns. Probe. So I didn't own Probe, and I ignored it and ignored it, and ignored it. The thing just kept getting bigger. The deposit just kept getting bigger. It got to the point where I had to buy it. It's Probe is another one of those that goes into that Stellar, Falco, Perpetua, these really big development stories. Um, I must be getting sleepy. Probe, I couldn't remember it. Um, I wanted to show you guys how big this thing's gotten. 10 million ounces. So it's gotten up to 10, you know. And not only does it have 10 million ounces, but it's still growing inside. Plus, they have 22 additional properties. So this company, if they turn into a producer and they hold on to their properties and they keep, they have a second and a third, it just got too big. It just got too much potential. that I had to own it. So we have a pre-feasibility that's due next year, and then a feasibility in 27. So, we're not looking for production until 29, 30. So you're saying, okay, Don, you didn't like Pebble. Why do you like Probe? Well, it doesn't, it's not as massive as Probe. It's not a 4-year build. Um, but it will have a big capex where, we're looking at 500 million plus. But and so I just like the location of their properties. I like the size. I mean, a 10 million ounce deposit, and you're only paying 360 for it. It's still cheap. Um, so if we look at the free cash flow as a 400,000 ounce producer, we've got $1 billion in free cash flow, 1.2 billion in free cash flow, and this company could keep growing. So I mean, it's printed as a 9-bagger. Yeah, I got to wait till 2030 for my payoff. It's a long wait. But what we saw from 2004 to 2007, we saw these development stories explode in price. When we had a mania, when you have good sentiment, these development stories can really rip. And that's what I think is going to happen. And so any development story that I kind of like, I want to own. I can't own all of them, but some of them I just like Probe. I avoided it, but it just got too cheap. U.S. Gold I like a lot. 8-bagger. It's in Wyoming, and they're probably going to expand a little bit, but it has really good free cash flow. And we get this optionality. They have the big property in Nevada they're going to drill. They haven't started drilling yet. And I like the management team, but that one I think is pretty solid. Skeena, big fan of Skeena. I think that Skeena is going to have two more mines to build. They're going to have first they're going to start with this really high grade open pit. Then they're going to build one underneath. They're going to do the underground, and then they have snip. So they have 3 mines to build. I like that. Hard part, can Skeena avoid getting taken out? I think it's going to be hard for them. I don't think their insiders are strong enough, so that's the risk with Skeena. But if you own it, I think you got to hold it until they get taken out. That's me. I've owned Skeena for a really long time, at least 5 years. I'm just, this is one of the ones that they break your heart when somebody comes in and takes them out, and then all that upside goes to whoever acquires them. I'd love to see Skeena do it like a merger of equals with Artemis. That would be perfect. They're both in British Columbia. That would be a really beautiful merger. Um, Radisson, I looked at Radisson very closely. It's a pretty strong development story. Cheap, 7+ bagger, could find more gold, but I passed on it. It just wasn't quite exciting enough for me, but it's pretty darn solid. Perpetua, I've owned Perpetua for a long time, over 5 years. Looks like they're going to take that to production. I'm excited about it. I don't think that's going to be their last mine. I think we're going to make more money on our second mine. I think their insiders are strong enough. I don't think they're going to be getting taken out. Magnetic, it's in Australia. I'm not a fan of it. I don't own it, so I'm not just gonna pass on that one. Mika, I do own Mika. They just did a big dilution today, but it didn't really kill their upside. It was a 60 million dilution, but um, it was probably a 9-bagger before it. But Mika, Western Australia, I think it's gonna get built. They have a lot of exploration potential. It's not super juicy. Uh, I overbuy a lot of these developers. Bunker Hill, I own Bunker Hill. Bunker Hill to me, is the key is going to be their management, how well they execute. But Bunker Hill has a ton of potential because their property has a lot of exploration potential. So I kind of have mixed feelings for it. Part of me thinks Bunker Hill could be a really big winner for their shareholders, and another part of me says if management, if they don't execute well, it could be a disappointment. So it's definitely not a slam dunk. But if you look at their potential free cash flow, it could be. They definitely have the potential there. It's in Idaho, so they're I think they're about less than a year out from production. They're like I don't know, 67% built. Um, I guess we can go take a quick look at Bunker. But yeah, Bunker is one of those ones that you kind of hold your nose and you just hope that, that it works out. See, I don't have it highly rated. So they're within a year of production. I'm a near-term producer, but I don't have them highly rated. And but 177 market cap. Look at this. They need to do a reverse split pretty badly. But they're timing the reverse split better. They don't want you don't want they don't want to do that until they get closer to production. But they think they can find 150 million ounces of silver equivalent. If they do, that's what I meant by the upside. I mean that this is kind of their target, and they have a lot of really good drill targets on their property. So they're starting off. They're focusing on their high grade zinc and lead and very little silver. They're going to start off like a 1 million ounce silver producer, mainly zinc, 5% zinc, 5 to 8% zinc, 1 ounce per ton silver. So they're going to start off there. But the property has a lot of high grade silver on it as well. So I mean, they're starting off at only 17 million ounces of silver. And so we're only valuing them as a 1.5 million ounce silver producer, 30 grams. But they could easily increase this. So we're starting off at 20. So look at this upside. They're looking at a six bagger is only a 1.5 million ounce producer. Well, guess what? These guys could easily double that to three. They double that to three, you're looking at a 10 plus bagger. So this is definitely a stock that I like to gamble on. We'll see which ones work, but those are the ones I just I can't turn down. When they have a potential of 150 million ounces and they have a lot of high grade silver targets on the property, I'm like, I'm going to gamble on it. Vizla has really fallen down. They're only a five bagger, and that's the reason why they're only a five bagger is because people like it. It's done really well. But I'm passing over Strickland. I'm not a fan of Strickland. Vizsla, big fan of Vizsla. I think Vizsla is one of the elite silver projects out there. But it used to be a 10 bagger, but you waited too long to jump in, and now it's only printed as a five bagger. But I think it's a solid five bagger. I really like the management team. They're aggressively getting into production, but I'm a big fan. Pass on Meridian, Astral. Astral's interesting, but I'm not going to talk about it. Rupert, no. Pass. I'm not going to talk about that one. Osisko Development. I'm a big fan of Osisko. I do own it. I think their property in Canada is a really good property. And if they can find anything in Utah, that's all gravy. It's all blue sky extra because the property in Canada is going to be worth a lot of money. And so anything in Utah is just extra. And so we're hoping that they can get, 50,000, 75,000 out of Utah. But the property, I really like the property they have. The one thing that's fascinating about that property in British Columbia is that they're ignoring all of the surface gold. And I don't know, silver gets to $4,000. I mean, how long can you avoid it? There's a lot of surface gold on that property. I mean, the previous owner of that property said that they had 10 million ounces on the surface of 1 to 2 grams. And they basically said we're going to ignore all the surface gold and we're just going to focus on underground. So I'm just crossing my fingers that after they get that underground property into production and they got all this free cash flow, as somebody says, we got all these drill results of all this surface gold. We should go back and re-drill this stuff. And if they do that, and then if they could permit it, again, the previous owner, 10 million surface. And so they don't even count that. Erdene, that's in Mongolia. It's Erdene. They have a JV on their gold. They're mainly focusing on copper. Dakota, a lot of people love Dakota. Dakota could do really well. It all they have a good management team. The key at Dakota is going to be exploration success, but I think it's already up to 4 million ounces. That's why it's 620 million free cash flow, future free cash flow once it gets into production. But Dakota is definitely a stock people really like. Gold Quest, Dominican Republic. I took a look at it. The problem is the taxes are very high. They're changing their tax law. They have to pay 40% corporate tax, which is really high. And then you add on to that, it's going to be like that's just a corporate tax. There's probably going to be additional taxes that go with it. But I didn't like the tax, so I passed on that. Abra, it's not, printing. This stock has really jumped in price, so it's not super, juicy anymore. And also, I don't think Abra is going to build a mine. Now they might, but my gut feeling is that project is going to get acquired by either Fortuna or Kinross, and they might bid against each other because it's a perfect fit for both companies. Um, I mean, it's either going to be Abra, well, not going to be, but Abra, Kinross, or Fortuna, because it's right next to Fortuna, and it gets Fortuna back into the silver mining, and I think they want that. Used to be that's their old DNA. I think it's a perfect fit for Fortuna. But Kinross owns, I think, 6%, and so Kinross has kind of the insider on it, but. We'll have to wait and see. We should get construction decision on Abra next year, but it's not super juicy at 400. Okay, so those are my development stories. So we're going to end it there.